Hi, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Brian.
Excited for the session.
Great to be here, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell the folks a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. I've been involved in the interior construction, interior design space, primarily commercially for 16 years now. In that 16 years, I've seen a lot of different trends come and go. I've seen a lot of different things impact the way that we address the commercial office market.
And it's ever changing in the marketplace.
It's crazy right now, especially right now, huh? Especially right now. And then you know what? Furthermore, I'll take any opportunity that I can get to visit this office. I love coming here and seeing the way that you guys successfully went through the transitions that we're constantly trying to bring to market and sell to our clients and show, how you can take on conventional spaces, put a little creativity, sprinkle a little magic on it and make it a really cool space.
So Kevin, one of the things I'm excited to talk about is the intersection between designing of office spaces, making them functional, and also incorporating technology, which is, I feel, the intersection of where our companies partner and help end user customers really understand what the options are. A lot of times they're not always holistically thinking about the office space, everything from the furniture to the walls to the look, feel aspect, and the incorporation of technology within those spaces.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to dig into that today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I see no more pressing topic in between, our two industries.
What does a thriving workplace mean?
I think thriving gives you the sense of an evolution. And really that's what we're doing right now. Within office, within society, within home life, we're all learning to live a little bit of a different way. Generally speaking, we're done looking at the office as a place that you go to work.
Right. That's what it was solely viewed as before. I go there, I do my job, I go home, and it's separation of home and work.
Yeah. Work is no longer some place that you go. Work is now something that you do, right? And that's something that you do.
And has certain emotions tied into that when it's
Absolutely.
not just work, right?
Absolutely. So the office now, instead of just being somewhere that you report to go and do your function, the office now has to be supportive of every one of those different work environments.
Right. Has to encompass all those different
Talk
needs.
about the collision and the integration between space and AV.
Right.
Going to be highly needed in those different areas. So everybody who works from any one of those places needs to be supported at every one of those places the same way that they would be supported within the office. Employers can no longer dictate where employees work. I think that's probably something that's going to be pretty long lasting coming out of this.
Yeah.
That's something that's going to be here for a long time. And that builds into that hybrid model of work, that hybrid workspace that we're ultimately now building towards. Working within that hybrid structure, everybody had an equal share, that little box on your Zoom screen. Everybody had an equal voice. Everybody was involved in the conversation on the same level. The hybrid workplace is going to look for that, but wherever you're working from, whether that be at home, from an office, from a coffee shop, from a co-working space, it's giving everybody an equal voice at that table, but from wherever you are.
And then when you incorporate video and things like that, it only enhances the experience.
That's right.
How do you take it from that general idea to design and incorporate that into the design?
Very much by through conversation with the client. What are their business strategies? What am I trying to support? Are we trying to foster a culture of collaboration? How are we looking through the circulation of space?
Right.
How are we understanding how people are coming into the building? Ultimately, what our goal is to maximize a company's two greatest assets and cost centers, their people and their facility.
And you can't let design get too far. You almost have to have that function is always come back to that function.
It always comes back to function, right?
Yeah.
The role of the office is productivity, right? And anything that you're doing outside of trying to drive productivity is counterproductive to the role of the office. So everything that we do has that in mind. It's really easy to concentrate at home. Right. It's really easy to do head down work. I'm entering a spreadsheet.
And you feel comfortable.
I love the office.
Home, right?
I love the office, and I would much rather, for the rest of my career, probably do every spreadsheet that I have to do from my home office. Right. I can close the door. I'm now in a room. I can listen to whatever I want to, and I'm focused on working there. Working at home, working in that environment, really good for that high concentration work. Anytime that you need brainstorming, collaboration, building ideating, anytime you need any of that kind of stuff, the office is where to do it, right?
So you're almost designing for that collaboration and everything that's not giving you on the focus side.
If you haven't designed for it yet, you will be shortly. We're not changing the way that we're thinking about addressing office at all. I think we're accelerating the way that we were thinking about office to begin with, right? We were making that change as the office is someplace to show up to do your job, to the office is someplace to show up to go through an experience, right? To the office is someplace to show up to act as this ecosystem to support all of these different new exciting work modules.
And then you have to focus on all the different departments within a company and all their unique needs.
Right. And so sort of the way that we are designing that space is from the inside out, right? So you have to start at the core of the space, the individual. So we're addressing the individual, that individual's needs. And then from that individual, then we're working on the core team, right? That individual is going to work with a core team, 1 to 10 people. So we have to work, how are we designing for that person, for their best function?
Well, that'll be more individualized workspaces, et cetera.
Right. And what are we doing now to support that from an AV perspective, from an office productivity perspective? How are we designing the office now for that individual person? So start right there at the individual level. Okay. So now that individual needs to go into their core team, right? 1 to 10 people. How are they being supported to break out and work in whichever ways they need to, which now will include some sort of a hybrid model within that team.
Right. So do you have remote participants? Then how are they connecting with those remote participants via video, via solid audio?
Right.
You're trying to break down those barriers of impedance with technology.
That's right. Going one step further now, how do we take that core team and incorporate them into a neighborhood? You have to start small at the individual level, understand what the individual drivers are, what's going to make that person thrive within that office space. Once you have that addressed, now you look at, okay, how do we get that grouping of individuals together in their core team and support all of that?
And then when you nail that down at one office, let's say it's a headquarters office and we have that, now they want that same look and feel across their entire enterprise, across the nation or the globe. So it's almost helping them develop a standard that in the same look and feel that everyone's going to feel part of. So if I go into Austin or I go into LA or I go into Pittsburgh, I'm going to feel the same about the company, and it creates a culture.
You're describing culture.
Right.
You're describing the culture and what I see as the primary role of what that office is. The office is no longer a place that you show up to. The office is what is the hub of that culture.
And there could be several hubs, right? So each office is kind of a hub because then individuals are still doing a hybrid model. Some are coming in that office, some are working remote.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A lot to account for.
Yeah.
Studies have shown up to 85% of people in the office have trouble focusing, have trouble concentrating.
Right.
Whether it's someone walking by, whether it's someone else on the phone in a separate area next to you. Can you tell me your thoughts on how you address those types of problems?
Noise is, no matter, if a lot of companies, a third party type of people, and anytime they do an office type study and what would you change about your office? You can go back and forth 1 and 2. It's going to be temperature control and it's going to be noise control. Right.
So I know a lot of when we have open collaboration spaces, right? A call center where you have multiple agents in a scenario, you're trying to separate that type of volume and overlap, et cetera. What are some tools that you use for that?
It's the ABCs of acoustics, right? Absorb, block, and cover, right? So you need absorbative material, panel fabric, right? Whenever we're planning open plan workstations, there's something that we call seated height privacy. So we want absorbative material right to where 48 or 50 inches would be. So if I'm seated, I'm talking into absorbative material right here.
Right. So that's going to help deflect and absorb the noise.
But if I need to talk to my neighbor, I'm just, I'm peeking up and prairie dogging right over and talking to them there. So that's the block part, is the 48 to 50 inches high panel. You need
some obstruction
in between people.
The sound.
Right.
Right.
And then the C part of that is cover. That's the sound masking portion of it too. And what sound masking does is it introduces this sort of, if you're not familiar with it, it'll sound like a loud HVAC system. It's a whooshing sound. It's a whoosh, sort of sound throughout the space. And it masks sort of the intelligible sound in between words.
So you still somewhat hear, but it's certainly at a lesser volume and unintelligible.
The goal is for people not to know it's there. And a lot of times we don't have the benefit of being able to add sound masking into a space before those people show up to it. So they become familiar with that acoustical signature pre-sound masking. So now we're going in and we're adding.
They
Anytime
notice
you-
it at that point versus if it's a new construction type of project, they come in
It's
day
just
one,
there.
it's just there.
It's just
It's part of the
there.
office.
Yeah. So what we do in those situations, we'll actually come in, we'll install the system, we'll go away. Week one, when people are back in the office after the renovation, the system's on, but it's minimal. It's just a quiet, and we build that up a little bit, like boiling a frog, right? You have to do it low temperature, and then you ramp up to the point where it's where you want it to be, and you keep it there then, right? So the ABCs, the absorbent materials that are panel, fabric, carpet, drywall, the block, the vertical separation in between people to block those actual sound waves, and then the cover, the sound masking portion of it. All three married together, it's your best bet for a good acoustical space.
So at Workscape, I know you have a separate division called Construct.
Yes.
And they focus on dirt wall related projects.
Prefabricated modular construction.
Us at Dobil, we've been trained on that type of technology. We know how to integrate technology into those walls. So I have some understanding of it. Could you share with the others that might not understand what a dirt wall is, and then what are the benefits to that?
Sure. In essence, dirt is construction that we build offsite, bring on site to assemble. We can save upwards of 12 weeks in a construction schedule usually, right? So the hidden cost savings that goes beyond just what dirt is as an application, which is something that's really beautiful and really seamless architecturally with the rest of the space.
So if a customer comes to you and they have an idea, we might want to look at dirt as a solution. How does that process normally work?
Client comes in and says, hey, this is something that we're looking to do. We say, okay, show us what we're working with. Show us the foundation of the space that we're working in. I need to see the core space, I need to see the perimeter space, and I need to see sort of what your goals are in terms of separating the rest of it.
So it's an open shell. Let's say a
shell.
warehouse.
A white box. We call it a white box.
Okay.
Give me a carpet, outside walls, and a ceiling plane, and then we'll go and finish out the rest.
And I know you have software that will actually enable them to conceptualize that space as well.
Not only to conceptualize it, but it speaks directly to the factories. So as we're conceptualizing it, as we're drawing the space, the ICE software is taking every stick of construction that we're putting in to develop that space and sending it back to the CNC machines at the factory. So there's nothing lost in that translation. Really slick stuff.
So that sounds like a great solution, very flexible.
Very flexible. The stat that always sticks out in my mind is for every lineal foot of conventional construction, that is 1 pound of never used, no lifespan drywall that goes into a landfill.
So as part of that integration of technology, we need to think about what those options are, because you almost have a blank canvas to object those. So how do you... What are your thoughts on technology integration within DIRTT?
Well, I think first we have to talk about technology in the office. And the one consistent with technology in the office is that it's ever changing. With the DIRTT system, with a prefabricated system, it's a frame and tile system. So it's a hollow panel, it's a hollow frame, but acoustics, sound rating, all the same as conventional construction. But we're able to just, take off one of those frames, access the core of that wall, access the core of that panel, address whatever technological needs we have to, put the tile back on, and we're out of there. We're out of there in a day.
Seamless.
So we're building this with the expectation that we're just going to have to rip it back out in 3 or 4 years whenever.
That's what I say. So
everything.
we have a traditional conference room here.
Yeah.
We're actually going to be putting in DIRTT based on that flexibility, because I don't know what that use space is going to be in 3 years. Yeah.
With DIRTT, we're sitting on top of carpet. We're sitting underneath the drop ceiling. So whatever you address, we're able to do it with 2 or 3 tradesmen, and that's it, depending on the size of the job. We always say, the real difference between a DIRTT application and conventional construction, it's the 70-30 model. So in conventional construction, if 70% of your overall cost is labor and 30% is product, all we're doing with the DIRTT application is flipping that, right? 70% of our cost now is in product and only 30% of it in labor. But the implication of that is long term, that 30% that's labor is much less intrusive whenever you have to reconfigure something.
Because it's an investment you're not getting back.
You're not getting that back. It's much less intrusive than the 70% that you have on the front end if you do it conventionally.
Well, Kevin, I certainly enjoyed our session today.
This was great.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, no. Thanks for having me. I think these conversations are important.
I mean, that's the beauty of a partnership between a Workscape and a Dobil is not only looking at the workplace, but
Yeah.
looking at the technology and working with customers and helping them visualize what that would look like to
Right.
better suit their function versus doing it separately. If you do it holistically, it certainly provides more value.